Hi, I'm bummed that I don't get to give a lot of these lectures, but this one, it's women getting the vote. There's so much fun stuff here, but we've got some really good film clips. I show most of these in class, and I found some really cool websites that explain some of the stories too, so we'll pull it all together in a different way. So just to set this one up, I wanted to remind you that remember the women's rights movement split after the 15th Amendment. So we have the two groups. We have the NWSA and we have the AWSA. And remember, the NWSA was the one that was a little bit more radical and was going to work at a federal level and did not accept the 15th Amendment. And the AWSA was a little bit more conservative, although it's radical to try to argue for the right to vote in this period. And they accepted the 15th Amendment, and they were going to work state by state. So a great example of the kind of more radical tactics of the NWSA is they support the campaign for the presidency of Victoria Woodhull. She was actually the first woman to run for president in 1872. Of course, there's no way she was going to win. Her name didn't even appear, on the ballots throughout the United States. Her running campaign, or her running mate that was picked was Frederick Douglass. He never actually acknowledged it and campaigned for Ulysses S. Grant, but I always just like to think, what if? Can you imagine? What if in 1872 we had a woman for president and a black man for vice president? How different our history might be. So that's kind of the main reason to put her there. Now, one of the things that the NWSA does is they argue that that women are citizens of the United States, and as citizens, we have the right to vote. So what they do is they try to cast their ballot, they want to get arrested, and then they want to take that case to the Supreme Court, right? Because they're trying to get this decided on a federal level. So you've got two cases. Susan B. Anthony is going to try to get a case taken to the federal courts up to the Supreme Court, but the judge will issue his decision in such a way that she can't do that. The video clip's going to look at her case and then look at the Happersett case that actually did get to the Supreme Court. The Happersett case, when it got to the Supreme Court, and the film's going to tell you this too, but it's nice to hear it multiple ways. The Supreme Court will say that voting is not a right of privilege. Sorry, voting is not a right of citizenship. Voting is a privilege of citizenship, and it's bestowed on those that are worthy of it, suggesting, of course, that women aren't really worthy of this right to vote. So when this case is decided, again, that voting is not a right of citizenship, but a privilege of citizenship, women are going to have to kind of change the course a little bit. They realize that this isn't going to work. And then, meanwhile, the AWSA is working state to state, and we get the right to vote in Wyoming in 1969, and we get the right to vote in Utah in 1870. In both these places, though, the reason we get the right to vote is really because, it helps, an image, or it helps men. So the reason why we got the right to vote in Wyoming in 1869 is Wyoming it was a mining community, and they kind of wanted to soften their image, and so they thought that by bringing women into, or by allowing women to have the right to vote, they might have a better image, not so kind of a rough and tumble image. And then Utah is also a mining community, but it had a large Mormon population, but by 1870 a lot of non-Mormons were moving into the community, and those non-Mormons were single men because they were there for the mining opportunities. And so the fear was that the Mormon vote was going to be outweighed by these non-Mormon men that were coming in. But if you gave the right to vote to women, the Mormon vote would double. And since the non-Mormons that were coming in were mostly men, because it was mining, then that would maintain that power, that voice. But we got the right to vote. We get it in Wyoming in 1969, we get it in Utah in 1870. And then in 1890, because of all the other stuff that's happening that we saw, like in that last lecture about the progressive movement, women active in all types of reforms, the two groups come together and they form NASA. So the NWSA and the AWSA, they come together and they form NASA, NAWSA. And this is going to be headed under Carrie Catt. We're going to see a split again, and I'll give you that. I'll set that up for you in the next video. Take care.